Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scooby Doo Review. I'm your host, Zerk. With me is my co-host, Penn. Say hello, Penn.
Hello, everyone.
As today, with every other Wednesday, we have decided to review a piece of Scooby Doo media until we either run out of things to review or expire. This week, we are finishing up Season 1 of the Scooby Doo Show from 1976, and what we have in store for us today involves some football and several very, very boring episodes.
Yep.
So,
Yes, sir.
without any further ado, let's begin our suffering by summarizing the story.
Well, hold on there. I got to list out what exactly we watched for today. We watched Scooby Doo, Where's the Crew, The Ghost That Sacked the Quarterback, The Ghost of the Bad Humor Man, and The Spirits of 76. So we're going to start with The Ghost That Sacked the Quarterback because it is a marvelous episode, and I love this episode so much. I love it. It is the weirdest, stupidest thing that the Scooby-Doo writers just stole from to make an episode of What's New, 30 years down the line.
Yep.
The same plot. So basically how this goes is the Scooby Gang are watching the Wonder Bowl, which is not legally, it's not the Super Bowl. This is different. Where the Hawks, the local football team, are playing, and their best player, Flash, I can't remember what his name is, so we'll just call him Flash Gordon because that's easy enough. Flash Gordon suddenly disappears under a cloud of smoke during their winning celebration as he's being carried along by all of the footballers. And then a man in tattered football attire and really, really red eyes jumps up on top of the scoreboard and says, "I will have my revenge." And then he goes,
Yeah. And this is the introduction of our episode villain this week, the Rambling Ghost, who, despite being supposedly an undead football man, is actually probably more accurate a football meth head.
Yes, this is, to spoil the episode entirely, he is a homeless man who lives underneath the stadium, in the old stadium, which he has constructed a sort of tunnel system underneath the stadium.
Yep. Just the homeless former defensive line coach for the Hawks.
Yep.
He did too much crack, got fired from the coaching staff, and he's been living under the stadium. That's literally the plot.
I hate how well this fits because, of course, it being a Scooby-Doo thing, that's not actually how this goes, but it fits so well that I can't think of it in any other way. I really can't.
What's so funny about this is literally only his head glows.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. It's just, this episode is so inexplicably chaotic.
It's nuts. We need to actually keep going with the plot.
Yeah.
What happened next after the guy got kidnapped?
After he got kidnapped, the gang kind of gets roped into solving this mystery because they care a lot about their football team because Fred's a big football fan. Although, notably, in this continuity, they made up a football team for Coolsville, even though in the What's New continuity, we learned that Fred still likes football, but he's actually a Packers fan in the What's New continuity. Which, why Fred from California would be a Packers fan? I guess since he has family in Wisconsin. It's whatever. Anyways.
Yeah.
The gang gets roped into solving this mystery, and they basically encounter the Rambling Ghost several other times as they're practicing and looking for suspects. The next best player on the football team is the wide receiver, Crunch Connors, who is, I believe, the only black character with speaking lines in this entire season.
As far as I remember, he's the only black character, period.
Oof. But yeah, Crunch Counters is a pretty cool guy, and the gang suspects him since he's the second best player on the team after Flash. So of course he'd have the motive to kidnap Flash. But then, no, Crunch Counters gets dropped into the field via a trapdoor, and then just the crackhead comes out from behind one of the tackling dummies, giggles a little bit, and then chases Shaggy and Scooby around for a hot minute.
Excuse me, Zach. He doesn't drop down into a hole. He magically vanishes. And the gang rolls a 1 on their perception check, so they don't understand that there's just a fucking hole in the ground where he disappeared. So they just don't even look at it. They just, oh, there's nothing here. Wow, he must have magically vanished. They only figure that out later when they have Scooby run the damn gauntlet and like go tackle the dummy, and he falls down into the hole.
So anyways, Scooby and Shaggy get chased around by the crackhead, and this is where we get an extended chase scene where we get some of just the most insane gags.
Oh, they're wonderful.
We first get the locker gag, which is just inexplicable. It's just...
Scooby opens lockers, opens up to see the ghost, instantly closes it, doesn't even realize. The ghost somehow teleports in front of Scooby. They give like one shot of the rambling ghost sort of running to another locker, but it's one that behind Scooby, and eventually Scooby actually opens the door and is like, oh. Then he and Shag get chased around the locker room, eventually finding like, what the heck is that horse thing? Is that,
they're like a little mechanical horse that you'd see like outside fucking Zellers.
Do Zellers even exist anymore?
No, it doesn't. Like 4 people will understand that, but like that's...
It's a little hobby horse, right? So they get on it. Shag says that he can totally take it. The rambling ghost appears behind them. So it just sort of gets off of its platform and starts running, going through a steam room, which shrinks all of them. Now, in other parts of this, we have shown that, especially this episode, Scoob and Shag just shapeshift. It's ridiculous. Like they just, one of those ticket booths that like has one of the like the little holes that you can put your money through and they can give you tickets.
Yeah, they put
their whole bodies through the damn thing. Shag must have like distended his shoulders to compress himself through that.
Never mind how do you get his skull through that? They have rubber bones, I guess.
Oh, well, I got comedy bones, you know what I'm saying?
I guess. Yeah, freaking figures.
Oh, God.
Anyways, they go through the steam room and they shrink under the ghost and go between his legs.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like they duck down. I mean they literally fucking shrink.
They're like the size of a small cat.
And this whole time, by the way, they're holding this newspaper clip that they found in one of the lockers, which is a clue, I guess. But you just aren't thinking about it because what you're watching is just absurd. Because they immediately then, after leaving the steam room, go through the showers, and this like rehydrates them back to normal size.
God, I love this episode so much. It is just a complete cluster, amazing. It's just
I don't know what the fuck I was on writing these notes because I wrote the word yeet and I forgot why I wrote that.
Oh, that's because they were in the whirlpool bath, which
shit
has an ejecting function. So they just fly through like the entire building and exit through a skylight.
Right. Yeah. All right then. Okay. That's how they escape the ghost.
Yeah. that is how they escape the ghost. Daphne has some really bad smear frames in this episode. Oh, they're real bad.
Yeah, there's one point where they just straight up forget to animate Daphne, and I think that's when Scooby is running the gauntlet. Like they just forget to animate Daphne. And I wrote show budget does not exceed 23 yen.
From then on, I believe they go to the scoreboard office, like the scoreboard operator, right?
Yeah.
So, they find some guy sleeping in a trashed room with the scoreboard office. He just, Scoob lengthens his schnoz all the way across the room and eventually nips him.
Yep. And then they talk to this poor old-timey scoreboard operator who says he was beset by the crackhead. Which, if you were assaulted by a rampaging crackhead, you'd think you would sustain more injuries. But no, just this little old man, he just got knocked out and is sitting nicely on his chair. So I'm assuming he just slept through that whole thing.
Are you sure you're remembering the episode correctly? Because I'm going to spoil this a little bit for you viewers. The scoreboard operator is the crackhead. He's wearing a rubber mask, and he's sleeping off his crack binge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense. He's just been living in the scoreboard room and also underneath the thing. I don't even really remember what his plan was. I think it's just to ransom the football players for more crack.
I think it is. Anyways, the next football player we meet is Butch Krasinski, who comes up asking to make sure that the scoreboard operator spelled his name right. And Butch talks a bit like this. He's got 4 brain cells, two of which are for understanding football, one of which is so that he knows how much protein he's got to eat, and then the 4th one is so that he knows how to spell his last name. This next part of the episode ain't going to be very wholesome 100 for you, Spider-Man. Let me just say that.
God damn it. From there...
Sorry, I watched Spider-Verse. It's good.
It's very good. Spider-Verse is amazing. Also, Wolfwalkers. That movie almost made me cry. Good. I should have won that Oscar.
Damn, Pixar.
Should have won that Oscar. It should have won that Oscar, but the Academy doesn't respect animation.
Only Pixar owns your soul.
Pixar does
and
own
your
my
feet.
Soul. So then they make Scoob run the gauntlet, right?
Yeah. This is where they make Scoob run the gauntlet, and he falls in the fucking hole.
Yeah, he gets tied up. He gets his feet all tied up in a bunch of tires, and of course starts rolling towards the thing. And the only way they figure out that there's a hole there is because Scooby bounces out of it because the tires are bouncy. And so then they just send Scoob, Shag, and Velma descend into the subterranean tunnel system that has been built over the years by this crackhead.
I would like to add that at this point, when they find the trapdoor in the middle of the field, which is a plot point in the Baseball Spectre episode, Velma says the new stadium was built over the old one, which is word for word a line from the Baseball Spectre episode.
Absolutely. They just took this plot and they just used it 30 years later to
make a What's New episode that wasn't even that good.
No, it wasn't that good.
Way better than the Baseball Spectre episode.
I would believe crack footballers, but crack baseballers? Hell no.
Well, because the Baseball Spectre was like the commentator who was like trying to scare the Latin player from not breaking his white friend's record, which that is really fucking petty, dude.
Yeah, but this time I think he just wants crack, so he's kidnapping football players and then putting them in his weird dungeon room.
See, that's a reasonable villain motivation. In the Florida Man tier list of villain motivations, that's like up there.
Oh, by the way, speaking of tier lists, our boy the Rambling Ghost is actually a B+ due to crack strength, PCP durability. He can't feel pain. Like he
no,
doesn't know what he's
there's a point where he
seeing.
falls over 400 feet on his chin and then gets right fucking back up.
Man. Oh.
Man is swimming.
I believe he could beat up a wizard if given enough like surprise. I feel like he could.
He absolutely could.
Okay, we got to keep going with this. So,
Yeah.
it's Scoob and Shag, and Velma. They find a ladder that leads up to an old trophy room in the old stadium, which they find the rambling ghost writing some stuff on some papers. This part actually makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But basically,
he takes a red Sharpie and circles a picture of the coaching staff prior to when he got fired for doing too much crack. And you can tell this guy is high, because why would you ever circle a picture of yourself in an old newspaper?
While in costume. Like he hasn't even taken the costume off. He's just circled it. And then he goes to keep writing stuff, but they don't explain what he's writing. So he's just sort of but anyway, Scoob and Shag try to peer pressure Velma into going and sneaking over and getting whatever paper he's writing on. But Velma calls their bluff and plays odds and evens, and Scooby loses.
Yeah, so Scooby has to go get it, which leads to the gang getting chased briefly by the ghost, and then they fall through another fucking trapdoor into a pile of sweaty-ass sports equipment where Crunch Connors and Flash Gordon have been held up for ransom, I guess.
They don't explain it. I think he just wanted like revenge or something. So then Velma, using some sort of eldritch, I don't even know what the fuck she does. She takes a canvas bag, puts Scooby in it, and then attaches an air pump.
Yeah, like they use to pump the balls.
And then she pumps that up and then pops it with a hairpin, and it shoots up like a rocket. What do we even call that, Zach? What is that?
That's like some what's new Daphne MacGyver tech.
Yeah, I believe that. Proficient in Morse code and improvising MacGyver-y stuff.
So then they rescue the football players, take the article back to the coaching staff, basically solve the mystery, and then during a practice for the next game, they con the ghost into thinking that Scooby and Shaggy are Flash Gordon and Crunch Connors, and the ghost chases them around. Scooby and Shaggy end up on a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And they chase the ghost throughout the stadium with the lawnmower. They run over one of the bench seats, which turns them into like recliner stadium seats.
Yeah. That flipping lawnmower is very, very powerful. The whole chase is just absolute madness. It's amazing.
And then they jump the lawnmower 600 feet in the air over the crest of the stadium and then fly it into the mouth of a shark float, which the Sharks, I guess, are the team they're playing. I don't even know, man.
I don't know why there's a shark float, because they're the Hawks, right? So why the fuck would they have a shark float? It is their home stadium. It is their home stadium. So
I don't, man.
They use their flipping football helmets as parachutes to glide down into the shark's mouth. By the way, Fred gave them a inflatable football. Well, a self-inflating football. So, what's that? What was that scandal that happened a couple of years back?
Tom Brady and Deflategate.
Yeah, Deflategate.
Yeah, the idea was basically, sorry, I have relatives who care a lot about the NFL. The idea is basically if it's a deflated ball, it's much easier to catch because you can kind of grip down on it. And yeah.
Oh, God. So they have Scoob and Shag are trapped in this weird shark float with the rambling ghost. So Scoob just sort of yeets the inflatable football into the sort of gear of the rambling ghost, and then he just kind of explodes and flies out of the shark mouth.
Yeah, and then back into the field, lands face down. then climbs up a fucking flagpole while
Yes.
Scooby and Shaggy drive the float also up the flagpole, bite the ghost, and then that's how they trap him.
I don't even know what to call that. Like, it's just the most flippin' craziest bullshit. Then when they're unmasking him, they take off the Rambling Ghost mask. Oh, it's the scoreboard guy. And then they take it off again, and it's some gaunt-looking sort of. He hasn't eaten in a couple days. He's on his crack binge. He can't fucking see right now.
Yeah, so the former coach. They don't even explain why he got fired, just that he did. So yeah, we're gonna say he got fired because man's a fucking crack addict.
Absolutely. So this episode is the best episode in our batch today. The rest are mediocre, so we wanted to get this one out first. Some other interesting facts. A friend of mine calculated the amount of calories that Scooby ate this episode, due to the fact that Velma says he ate 2 malts, 4 hot dogs, and 6 pizzas. That amounts to 15,000 calories.
Oof.
Gotta get that Saiyan strength, you know?
I guess, eh? I was once having a brunch at Cora downtown when I was, I think I would have been in 8th grade, maybe.
Yeah.
And we were sitting next to this absolutely massive guy, like 6'4", built like a brick shithouse. And this guy had ordered like a thing of brioche French toast and like a 4-egg omelet.
Wow.
And he ate both of them. And they're like, and we're just sitting there next to this guy, like, who is this guy? So my dad asked him, it turns out this guy's a defensive lineman for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And this was his like carbo load before the game that afternoon. It was supposed to start at 4.
Wow. You know, I could probably go for that. Damn. Okay then. So I guess that's about this one. So are you gonna up your score, Zach, up from a 6.5?
Yeah, I think this episode is funny. I'm gonna go up to an 8 flat, I think.
Okay, cool. In that case, that is. So you gave it an 8 and I gave it a 9, meaning that this is my highest rated episode of the season, which I agree with because it's so stupid. It's the stupid and flippant thing. Why are the sports ones always insane? Like, flippant, you remember the Frozen Freak?
Oh my god, the
hockey
fucking
episode,
Russia
right?
one. They go to Lenin's too.
They go to Lenin's too. Like, why are the sports ones always insane?
I don't know. Like, baseball specter aside, which this episode is just an objectively better version of the baseball specter episode.
I would agree. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so stupid. Actually, the Frozen Fiend could maybe beat Volkner.
Oh boy. Actually, that's true. She has a ranged attack. She's got ice knives.
Ice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, we'll have to keep that in mind when we get to like the really stupidly large power scaling.
Yeah, I feel like our best chance at beating Volkner at this point is probably the Tar Monster, but we'll get there. Okay, which one do you want to do next? You want to do Yarmady Society or Murica? So for those who don't know, I do all the notes for our episodes, and I have just sort of gone. I name each note page off of what I think the episode is going to be, and one of the episodes is called "The Ghost of the Bad Humor Man," and I'm thinking, okay, Ghost of Bad Humor Man, Ghost Clown Society. Okay,
considering we're gonna do that sounds like a good segue.
Yeah,
we thought this episode was gonna
be about that. It's not that. I wish it was that. I was excited to make some like old ass dated memes, but no, it's not that. Instead, this episode is just pain and sadness.
Yeah, it just sucks. It's a bad episode. It's bad. But let's keep it going. So for some reason, Fred is letting Shaggy drive the van.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's like 11 o'clock at night. It's raining. It's thundering. They can't see a foot in front of the van. Why are they letting Shaggy drive? I don't know. There's a bunch of popsicles in the road. And they sort of crash the van into an ice cream factory. And then they get stuck in the ice cream factory because there's ghouls. Well, specters.
Yeah, so there's 3 palette swaps of the Green Ghost in the colors of Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah.
Real subtle, guys.
Yeah. You got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry.
Yeah. So they just kind of bum around the factory until they run around the night guard, who's like this guy who's hard of hearing and of sight.
Yeah.
And yeah, that happens. And then the gang and then they try to call for a tow truck because Shaggy pops all 4 tires, the absolute moron. But instead they get ominous phone voice saying that if you do not leave this factory, you will be doomed.
Doomed.
But yeah, these ghosts suck.
Oh, they suck.
Don't really do anything. They just kind of go blah, and then move off frame. They aren't even animated. They're just posed, and then they just...
Oh, absolutely. This episode, I think, had a lot of budget constraints.
Yeah, budget definitely does not exceed 23 yen on this episode.
No, absolutely not. Although I do like the villain's plan, which we'll explain later, because that's actually a kind of cool plan to do that. But man, it is a boring fucking slog.
Yeah. So the bulk of this episode is just the gang exploring the ice cream factory and getting into various predicaments.
Yes. The milk.
They meet the owner, who comes over because the alarm for breaking into the factory rang, and he finds the kids and he's just like, okay, you can stay here until a tow truck comes. And he's got a broken leg, but he just gets up and fucking strolls away at one point. And it's kind of funny.
The reasoning for that is also stupid.
Yeah. So Scooby and so sort of the big stuff that happens shenanigan wise is Scooby and Shaggy get stuck in the freezer.
Yeah.
Where the ice cream has been freezer burnt so bad that it's hard as rocks, enough that Shaggy can start a fire using 2 ice creams by sliding them together. Not sure how that works, but that then triggers the sprinklers, which then turns into snow because they're in the freezer. I don't know.
It's really dumb. And then they end up in the the milk room.
Yeah, Shaggy ends up wearing one of the ghosts' costumes, which I guess is one of the clues. They think he's the Phantom at first, but no, he just kind of looks like he's wearing a Jedi robe he bought from Party City.
Yeah.
And he does that.
He gets buddy with the specters. Then they just kind of creepily laugh, and he's like wearing the brown robe. And then the chocolate specter comes over and it's like spooks him, and then that's it. And then they end up in a milk room.
Yeah. But before that, Shaggy falls into the milk churning device and gets his ass slapped by the.
This episode is really weird about that.
Yeah. I just don't even know, man.
I want to get that flippin' edited image. It makes me laugh. I can't.
Yeah. They end up in the milk room, and Shaggy opens the vat to the giant milk vat, and he ends up flooding the room with milk. And so the rest of the gang, though, is in the car park where all the ice cream trucks are, and that's literally all Fred, Daphne, and Velma do is hang out in the car park. Because when they're in the car park, the earth fucking cracks asunder before them.
Mm-hmm.
And they follow it to a one of the cars that is locked. And this comes back later. But again, the plan of the villains is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
But eventually, Shaggy and Scooby fill the milk so high, and Velma, Fred, and Daphne are cornered by the ghosts. But then the milk falls out the vent along with Shaggy and Scooby. They flood the Phantoms. The Phantoms hop in the car that cracked the earth asunder. The gang hops in 2 cars and pins them against the garage to the thing, and the Phantoms are trapped in the cabin of the car until the police and the tow truck comes.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's revealed that the Night Guard isn't actually the Night Guard. He is actually a guy named Sammy the Shrimp, who is a carjacker, and the other two Phantoms are his cronies. And their plan was they stole this armored bank car that was transferring a huge amount of cash, $2 million. In
1976.
Which means... which of course, since Shaggy thinks about everything relative to 50-cent hamburgers, man, the 70s were a different time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shaggy thinks about everything like that, that's the perspective we get. And it turns out what they did was they carjacked the armored car and then brought it to this ice cream factory, because the armored car is a modified version of the same make and model that this ice cream factory has been using for their ice cream trucks. So they paint the armored car to look like an ice cream truck so that they would get past the roadblocks.
Which is actually really smart, and I like that. That's a cool villain plan. I just wish it weren't in this episode, because this episode sucks.
That's like super smart. If you're writing a heist movie, by the way, or like a heist story or anything like that, like steal that. That's actually really cool.
It's a really cool way to do it. Like I absolutely believe in that. It's super cool. Just to have that.
Yeah. But overall, this episode is just it's just not good. It's just not good.
One other thing. So the owner of the ice cream factory who walked away without his crutches, he just smashes his cast on the floor, revealing that he's just had like sweaty ass dollar bills crammed into a fake cast because he doesn't trust his own safe with the Phantoms being around. Put in a bank. Oh my God.
There's these things called banks, my dude.
Okay, we both gave that a 4 out of 10. It's a bad episode. It's just bad.
Yeah, just skip that one.
All right, which ones you want to do? The one with the fish or the one with, America?
Okay, so I really don't want to talk about Spirits of 76. I really don't.
Okay, then we're going to go with fish.
Yeah, I think it's fish time.
Okay.
So this whole episode is about the gang helping an oceanography professor do a thing with a wreck of a Spanish ship.
Salvage mission. It's always the Spanish. It's always the Spanish.
Yes, it is always the Spanish. It's always the moon, and the fucking moon god is. I gotta figure this out. Also, animals hate Scooby. These are all things. They're going on my conspiracy wall because it's all connected. You gotta see it. Pepe Sylvia. I got boxes full of pills.
Pepe. So they're helping this oceanography professor do his thing because the gang are all certified divers.
Yep, they are actually. They are certified scuba divers. That is they've all got scuba certifications because they've actually they've done this before. Even the dog.
Yeah, but the strange, inexplicable thing about this episode is everybody in this episode is named Fish.
Yes.
The captain of the Spanish wreck is Captain Pescado, which is Spanish for fish. The oceanography professor is French, and his name is Dr. Poisson, which is fish en français. There's one of the crew members is this guy named Carp, also a fish.
Mr. McGill and Mr. McFinn.
Yeah. And the mate and the captain of the boat, who's different than the oceanographer, is named Finn McGill, and he's Scottish.
Yep. Although he's very bad. None of the characters in this one.
Frank Welker definitely hadn't perfected his Scottish accent at this point.
No.
So,
not better.
Anyways, we were talking a few episodes ago about how all of the episodes in this show either fall into actually attempting to solve the mystery or shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
This episode is shenanigans, and it's the worst kind because it's just constant shenanigans without really any effort to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
It's just chase after chase after chase.
Yeah.
There's a squid kid, a goo monster, and a ghost pirate, and the whole episode is spent running away from them.
Yeah, help monster. They don't have any wacky abilities. They don't do anything out of the ordinary. They just kind of run around and spook people and lock doors.
Yeah. They just lock the gang in various rooms in the ship. Oh boy.
I don't know. That's basically just what happens up until there are a few bits that happen. They find a note from Professor Poisson that has a bunch of weird letters on it that spell out like the worst sort of coded message I could possibly think of.
Yeah, it's like the one you come up with in like 20 minutes because you have to run D&D in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's like 1mm something SC, and it's blah. Oh, it's just bad because it's one of those puzzles you wouldn't figure out as a viewer at all because you couldn't figure it out because there's no context, right?
No, it's something just entirely to like drive the plot.
Yeah.
It's not even fun to figure out as a viewer. And like the only thing that we really like interesting about this episode, I guess, is they get to use a diving bell, which diving bells are really cool, I guess.
Yeah, they are.
Also, we learned that Velma knows Morse code because she was in the Girl Scouts.
Yes, absolutely.
Eventually, it's revealed that it's the first mate and the crew are pretending to be the ghosts to scare the gang and the professor, I guess, so that they can dredge the treasure up from the wreck and smuggle it rather than getting it into a museum.
Wait, you remember that medallion from the fucking zombie episode and Gorilla?
Yeah.
I think this could have been the same wreck.
Well, because what was the name of the ship on the medallion?
I can't remember. I'll have to find that and I'll report back.
Because the ship name in this episode was the Diablo Doro.
Oh, in that case, I don't think so. It was some other Spanish wreck filled with cursed fucking treasure.
Because it's just always the Spanish. It's always the Spanish.
It's always the fucking Spanish.
It gets the apotheosis of it's always the Spanish really happens in Mystery Inc. And we'll get there.
Yes,
we'll get there
one day, and that'll be the most insane. There's a robot. No, I can't. Not now.
Not today.
Your only line of defense is a clam fisherman. He's the only thing that stopped America from being taken over by Nazis. You'll get that when it comes to it.
Oh boy. So this episode's just overall just blah. I gave it a 5. The best thing about it is the fact that every character is a fish pun.
Yep. Although there was one interesting piece of thing that we calculated because Fred said that they were 40 miles off the coast. We are assuming it's California. And at one point they abandoned the diving bell and just go back up to the surface. And I wanted to see if they could withstand that pressure, but no, it's like 200 meters. So they could do that. Yeah. Other than that, like I can't think of anything that's really spectacularly interesting in this one. It's just a lot of.
There's a goo monster. All goo monsters except for the tar monster are the same.
Yeah, I mean it's a kelp monster in this one.
Yeah, there's also a squid kid, which is kind of neat, but
nothing's cool with them. They just a costume. There's another instance of animals attacking Scooby, which means that this is consistent. This happens all the time. Animals want to murder Scooby. I don't know why, but it keeps happening. We'll have to figure that out later. Theory crafting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it 5.5. Zach gave it a 5.25. It's not very good, which means we have to talk about
this one. All right.
Yeah.
So this last episode, as I'm sure many of our American viewers are begrudged to know, the United States of America is over 200 years old, and it had its bicentennial in 1976, exactly when this great country syndicated its great show of Scooby Doo. We had Scooby Doo made a episode about the spirits of '76, where the gang goes to the Smithsonian and fights the ghosts of traitors to America. It aired on PBS like twice, and probably doesn't get rerun because this episode fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's bad. They mention American history 8 times.
Yeah, this whole episode is like the same experience you'd get from reading a bicentennial pamphlet that they'd pass out in 1976 on July 4th when you're watching the fireworks.
Yeah.
That's what this episode is like. That is you will get the same experience doing that.
Yeah, it's bad. Villain's plan is lame, and in fact is so stupid that it doesn't actually work, according to a government agent who is in there.
Yeah.
We really have to summarize this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through this as quickly as possible. So the gang is they came to Washington D.C. for the July 4th weekend to see the fireworks of the Bicentennial, but it's basically been raining the whole time they were there, so they couldn't get to go see like stuff like the Washington Monument. So Shaggy suggests that the gang go to the Smithsonian because it's all indoors and it'll be fine. So they go to the Smithsonian and they meet this really grumpy ass downer security guard who says, "Get the fuck out, we have ghosts." But he doesn't know he's talking to the Scooby Gang. So the Scooby Gang sticks around. And then they meet a much more pleasant security guard. And then Scooby falls underneath a train and they can't find him. And then they do find Scooby underneath a cotton gin that's like rigged up to a drill apparatus that we'll learn about later. And I guess what happens basically is the gang run away from the ghosts of Benedict Arnold and like 2 other people I don't really care to name or look up at the moment.
It's like Major Andre and another guy. What was his? Oh God! Like it's people that, as we're Canadians, we only kind of know Benedict Arnold. That's a name that strikes a chord in my head. Who the hell is Major Andre?
I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know, man.
I don't know, man. It's like
I just gonna read off my notes here. Basically, the ghosts just kind of look at them. They find a bear. This episode sucks. They run into some dinosaur bones that Scooby chews on. They get chased on a bicycle. I made a Queen reference in the notes. The bear's back. There's like one clue in this episode, and it's like wet footprints. So I wrote that there is one clue, and it is feet.
Yeah.
And then like basically they figure out that they're using the cotton gin rigged up under the locomotive, turning on the locomotive because it's like an attraction. You can turn the locomotive on, using the locomotive's motor to drive this cotton gin, which is hooked up to a drill press that the villains are drilling into the U.S. Mint. And then the gang through a storm drain, and the reason that their feet are so wet is because they have to keep walking through the storm drain to check their progress on the drilling. The old grumpy security guard has nothing to do with it. He's just an asshole. The nice security guard and the museum tech are the guys doing it. And fucking the FBI shows up, and the FBI says that the bills they were drilling at are worthless because they don't have the treasury stamp, the serial number, or the treasurer's signature.
Yep.
So literally this episode was fucking pointless.
Yeah, it was all for nothing.
I think my note here says of just ugh fuck sort of sums up my feeling of this episode. Please, for the love of God, if you're watching along, skip this episode.
Yeah, it's not necessary. It's just bad.
Do yourself a favor and skip this episode, because like I said when I was doing my aggressively Dallas Texans fan voice, this episode was like it was a network contractually obligated episode that aired like 3 times July 4th in 1976, 77, and 78, and then just never again.
I mean, that's the theory. I haven't actually read anything about it, but
that's what I feel like.
yeah, it's one of those ones where it's just like, this is a thing you'd plop your kids down in front of to be like, it's education to learn about America.
Yeah, this is when you're like a white wine mom in like 1976. It's July 4th and you got to get to the neighborhood potluck and you're putting raisins in your potato salad because you're a fucking mad woman. And you just need to occupy your 8-year-olds for like 2 minutes so that you can just finish the damn potato salad.
Mm-hmm.
This is what that episode is. What this episode is.
Yep. That's like, hey, I don't know, man. It's just,
it sucks.
It sucks. It's real bad.
I don't want to dwell on this anymore. I gave this a 2 out of 10, which I think is the lowest score I've given anything.
Yeah. I can't, I think we may have given what was it? Goblin King, like a 1 out of 10?
No, Goblin King got a 3.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh geez. Then yeah, no, this is literally the worst piece of anything we've come up with, but we'll get worse. We still have to do the cursed one at some point.
So that movie's at least the one we do not speak its name. That one at the very least has like it actually, the choices are terrible, but they're interestingly terrible. There's a difference between being just generally terrible and being interestingly terrible.
Yes, absolutely. That movie is very interestingly terrible. One day we will get to Dick. Okay, so I gave it a 3 out of 10, although it still probably deserves a 2. And that's it for season 1, everybody. Woo!
Yeah. So on a more positive note, let's move on to our final scorecard for season 1 of the Scooby Doo Show. Pat, what have we got in store?
Okay, I don't actually think that they commit really any crimes in this. I mean,
well, they stay in the museum past closing, which could be considered trespassing.
I would say that they would not be prosecuted by that because an FBI agent comes by and is like, well, thanks, kids. You actually kind of helped out. So, I mean,
yeah, charges would be waived, I would think.
I'm not going to prosecute you because you helped out the U.S. government. Like, oh, you fucking stopped. You stopped the flipping thing to rob the U.S. Mint, for God's sakes. You're a national hero. They don't do anything. I mean, technically they like hit the entrance to an ice cream thing, but once again, they stop bad guys in the process of doing that. Also hitting the garage, also hitting that building could be totally considered an accident because they spun out. Absolutely. Especially since they spun out on the popsicles, which were actually dropped by the bad guys.
So they could actually probably sue the, ice cream factory for that. So no, I don't think we have any petty crime to add to the list. No Scooby Dumb, obviously.
Nope.
So since this is the end of our season, what is our final totals for this season?
Well, for this actual whole season, I would like to say that our average score for this season was 6.3.
That is for episode quality, right?
That is for episode quality, yes, because we do not rate chases because they don't have licensed music in the 1970s. Yeah, that's a 6.3. That's actually not bad considering that we rated the first season of What's New as like a 5.8 or 5.9. So
somewhere in there. Not quite 6.
This actually isn't that bad. Honestly,
it's not. I think it ranks between seasons 2. Does it rank between seasons 2 and 3 of What's New? Because I feel like that's about.
Yes, I do believe it does. Now, let's do our final scorecard. So with this all over and done with, we have 2 counts of Scooby Dumb
and 8 counts of petty crime.
Nice.
If you enjoy our podcast and would like to contact us, you can follow us on Twitter at do_review or email us at the Scooby Doo Review at gmail.com. And that's the episode, everybody. Thanks for listening. And remember, we wouldn't have a podcast without you and the gang and those meddling kids and their dumb dog. So come back next time for when we actually start reviewing season 2 of the Scooby Doo Show. Bye-bye.
Bye.